I shall now ring my bell. I'm reading my private messages, making sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, here we go. Let's call to order. Good afternoon, and welcome to the February 5th, 2021 meeting of the Rotary Club of Brentwood. I am Keeley Hall, your club president, and I'm honored to serve you as such this year. Tom Carr this morning has our invocation, followed by Lena Sugis with the pledge and four-way test. Take it away, Mr. Carr.
Please pray with me. Almighty God, we invoke a blessing upon this occasion of Rotary Fellowship. Make us aware of the deeper significance of our meeting as we develop our friendships as a source of Rotary service radiating from this community to the wider community beyond. Amen.
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 Dennis.
Please face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and friendship? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And now, Jane Covington, our club secretary, will take a look and see which guests we have this morning that she will introduce. We do have Steve. Steve is here, but we will introduce him more formally in just a few minutes. So guests and visiting Rotarians not named Steve Huff.
Well, I was gonna introduce Steve Huff as a guest for at least the next 3 minutes. And it looks like we have Zach back. We must have made a really good impression. So happy to have you back, Zach. And I don't see anybody else other than our speaker who is a guest.
All right. Yeah, either we made a good impression on Zach or we're like a train wreck that he just can't turn away from.
One of those two.
I feel like a combination. I'm in good company then, so let's leave it at that.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right. Well, let's move into Happy Bucks real quick. Anybody want to take a couple of minutes to share what they are happy about with the club? Okay.
Well, if no one's going to say anything, I will just say from my previous kind of why I'm back, I thought I thoroughly enjoyed being a guest. I appreciate coming back. I felt, as I was telling other people after the meeting, just the positivity from everybody. You can feel the energy, and that showed up at the beginning of this meeting here, just having, laid back, joking around. I really thought that, and like you can just feel the positive energy, and everybody's coming here for a bigger purpose than ourselves. So that's what I really stuck out for and grateful for, and so that's definitely a reason why I'm back. So wanted to show that, or tell that was my thoughts.
Can I throw one out, Keeley?
Yes, sir.
57 years ago today, I became a civilian. I got discharged from the Army. You're laughing, Dale. I keep track of that thing.
Well, I have one too then.
Okay, go Tom.
So yesterday, 8 years ago, I was at Fort Hood with my wife, Kathy, and we welcomed our son home from Afghanistan. It was the happiest day of my life. Well, one of the happiest days.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one. Dick, 57 years ago Monday, I was born.
Well, there you go.
It just gets better and better. See ya.
Well, I was very grateful that I was able to provide a protective, safe environment for you, right?
All right. Well, I'm going to turn the corner and bring it to what happened last Saturday. My wife and I were having lunch about an hour and a half south of here. And you get that phone call that your kid's something's happened to your kid.
Oh.
So, you find out what you're made of. And it was just a reminder that we're not in control, but I serve a God who is. And when my daughter walked out of Cool Springs Mall the other day, and her legs went numb and she fell down, and there were people around her that quickly came around her in the parking lot and did what we'd all want everybody to do, and that's get her help and whatnot. And so when you get that call from the EMT saying, hey, I'm with your daughter, she's okay, but you need to come, we're grateful. So, and then she checked out well, the doctor's saying fine, and we're just grateful. So, but to your point, Zach, there is a lot of positive energy here, but Mr. President, don't move from happy bucks too quick, because in this season, we need to almost go around the room and make everybody share, because we need to hear good news, whether it's from years ago or last Saturday.
That is a great reminder, Mark. Thank you. That's so true. It's we've grown kind of numb to this Zoom format a little bit, and we all love making fun of it, or we hate making fun of it. We just hate it. But the truth is, it's what we've got right now, and we need to make the best use of it that we can. And one of those things is, let's be thankful that we can come from 40 different places all together in this one virtual environment and share what's going on in our lives. But we do need to kind of share what's going on in our lives. Otherwise, we're just watching a television show. So it's a good reminder, Mark. Thank you.
I'll go next.
Oh, go ahead, Devin.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm happy this week. My daughter, who is following in the footsteps of my son this week, achieved the BSA Scout rank of life. So she has got about a year and a half to try to get that. I think she'll try to get her Eagle Scout rank and be probably one of the first 1,000 women in America to have that rank. So I'm very proud. Lots of happiness because of Pride today.
I've got two things, if I could.
Okay.
I want to welcome my old college roommate, Steve Huff, to the club. And also, hey, Michael King, I'm still working on that autograph photo of Nick Saban that you asked for.
Thanks, Bart.
Gee, I can't wait. I cut my hair just so I could get it.
Keely, I have something.
Yes, sir.
Last Monday, I think February 1st, was the city of Brentwood's police's 50th anniversary. And Katie Winsett and Jody Rawl planned an amazing celebration, like a day of thank you for the police. And so I'm, happy for our amazing police force that we have, and that we have citizens that would plan something, and, breakfast, lunch, dinner, goodie bags, all sorts of volunteers and all sorts of good stuff that they did for them. So I'm happy that we have such a well-received police force in our city.
Indeed. I think Larry Kane was trying to say something a minute ago. Larry?
Do I sound okay now?
There is no more Mr. Roboto. You can go ahead.
Hello, Bato, Mr. I'm happy. Sue and I got our vaccination shots the other day, which is pretty cool. And the other thing I'm kind of happy about, I like to hear Zach talk, man. I mean, we got to get that dude in the club. He is like, has the right attitude. I love it.
100% agree. I'll add my little happy bucks in here. My daughter and my wife are currently on the road on their way to Knoxville. This is my second daughter to do college visits. So she's a junior in high school. We have a freshman right now out in California. They're visiting UTK right now, and I am really hoping this one doesn't go to college in California as well. And I'll add this, we were talking about Auburn earlier. She really does like Auburn. So anybody that has any connection there, let me know how she can go to Auburn for in-state Tennessee prices. and I'll be happy to support her Auburn application.
She becomes the first female Albie and gets a scholarship.
I'm happy to train her, Keely. Happy to.
What's that?
Happy to train her.
I don't think
you might want to call our governor. He might can help you out.
I didn't hear you, Steve.
I said you might want to call Governor Lee. He might can do some good for you.
Anybody else for Happy Bucks?
If I may just say one more thing, I'll try to keep it pithy, but just more of a generalize of how we can all, it helps me out a lot. There's a thing in our brain, it's our RAS system, but if you kind of focus, you get what you focus on. And I find that's helped me is to find the smallest thing I possibly can be to be grateful for in my day or my life. I mean, whether just walking outside and you see the sun or you see like something, because the more we focus on that'll cue our brain, like evolutionary, to basically be paying attention to more of those things. So like if we want more positivity and more gratefulness in our life, we don't need to look at like the big moments. We just look at the small ones, and then the compound effect will be great. So I thought I'd just share that as what was on my mind.
All right, awesome. Well, let's move on to a couple more announcements. I did want to make a note that we had on Saturday a hugely successful Little Harpeth River cleanup project. I mentioned in reflections, we don't keep super exacting records on all this, but this one passed the eye test for sure in terms of the greatest number of volunteers we've ever had show up for this, which is awesome in a year that we weren't sure which way it was going to go. So Patrick, I don't know if Patrick wants to say anything about it, but before he does, I think we definitely all owe Patrick a great deal of thanks for not only serving the club as the treasurer for this year, but also continuing on in his role for at least this time around of coordinator for this project. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Keely. I appreciate that, and I know I'll forget someone to thank, so I'll just say for those of you who were there to help me get set up and receive our volunteers, as well as those of you who led sections and got folks to the right place. It was hugely successful. 217 participants this year, 1,200 pounds of trash we collected, and it was a good day. We had some new people who'd never been out, who just saw it in some of the social media, who participated. So just very grateful to the club. And I'm also, I'll just use my happy bucks here. I'm also happy to announce my retirement from the Little Harpeth cleanup. I'm going to go out on top, and I'm very happy to continue to be a part of this, but I certainly would like to see someone join me and maybe take the reins over the next couple of years. So, but thank you to the club and everyone who participated.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, Hunter. Hunter is going to introduce Steve Huff, who is our newest addition to the Rotary Club of Brentwood. Hunter.
Thank you, Kaylee. Steve Huff is obviously has been on a couple of times, but I have the distinct pleasure of introducing my business associate and friend, Steve Huff. I worked with Steve at the R.J. Young Company for 39 years as he served the company in various roles as a vice president, but more recently in the newest technology area. Steve had announced his retirement as of January 15th and had expressed a desire to remain in a Rotary Club. Steve is transferring from the Nashville Rotary Club, where he was a member for over 10 years and is a Paul Harris Fellow. As a member of the Nashville Rotary Club, Steve was a regular attender and actively engaged in the various community service projects. Steve has served both the business and the private community over the past years. Steve was a former chairman of the board of the Better Business Bureau of Middle Tennessee, former president of the Brentwood South Neighborhood Association, and a former president of the Cherry Grove Homeowners Association. Steve has been a resident in Brentwood or Nashville area for the entire life, along with his family. Steve is an avid sports fan, especially of the Tennessee Titans and the Vanderbilt University where he's received his MBA from the Owen Graduate School of Management. Steve attended Fellowship Baptist Church in Brentwood with his wife, Lisa. Steve has 2 adult children who are both married and live in the Nashville area. No grandchildren yet, but I'm sure he is looking forward to that day. I look forward to Steve becoming an active member of our club and getting to know our members. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Is this my turn to speak, Hunter?
Yes,
sure,
sir.
You get your 15 seconds of fame.
Okay. First off, I'd like to say to you guys, I agree with Zach. The vibe in this club is fantastic. Just listening to the banter before the meeting, that's about what I'd expect, and that's exciting to us that are new. So I'm certainly glad to join this group. You know, when Bert Bradford said something a few minutes ago and welcomed me to the club, he used the term old college roommate, and so I got to thinking, yeah, I guess I'm qualified because I just retired, which does give me the opportunity to spend a lot more time in civic service. But I've known Hunter for 40 years or so, 39 or 40 years. I've known Bert for about 45 years. And Ray Little, I saw you on here. This will really date me. I used to take my car to your dad when I was over in Green Hills years ago. And back then you were truly Little Ray. So I'm a native Nashvilleian. I have been around quite a while, but and was involved in the downtown club for 10 or so years. I'm excited now really to join you guys out in Brentwood. I told Hunter 6 months or a year ago when I knew I was going to retire. I just retired 3 weeks ago. It would give me the opportunity to move to a club closer to home. I live in Brentwood, and now that I'm retired, I should have much more opportunity to serve. So guys, thanks for having me, and I'm honored to be a member of this club and looking forward to working with you guys and seeing you guys when we can all get together and talk and start to establish a more formal relationship. So thanks to all of you. Look forward to seeing you.
We are honored to have you as a member, Steve. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. Yeah. And now on to Jonathan Merck, who is going to introduce our program speaker for the day. Jonathan.
Thank you, Keely. It is my distinct honor to introduce you to our speaker, Scott Augenbaum. Scott's career started in the FBI with the FBI back in 1988 in the New York office, and in 1994 he was assigned to the Syracuse office, where he worked on domestic terrorism, white collar and hate crimes, and all computer crime investigations. In 2003, he was promoted to supervisory special agent at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. in the cyber division and the cyber crime fraud unit. And I believe his friends all thought that was a dead-end job for him, that nothing would ever become of that part of the FBI. He was responsible for managing the FBI Cyber Task Force program and intellectual property rights program. In 2006, he came here to Nashville and managed the FBI Memphis Division Computer Intrusion and Counterintelligence Squad here in Nashville. In the last 10 years, he's had the opportunity to provide hundreds of computer intrusion threat briefings with the goal of educating the community and on emerging computer intrusion threats and how not to be a victim of data breach. He has an earned MBA degree and also has a master's certificate in information security management from Villanova University. He is also the best-selling author of a book called The Secret to Cybersecurity, and I'm sure he'll mention a little bit about that as he speaks. And he is a friend. I'm proud to be his publisher, and I'm looking forward to having him share with us what he has to say. So Scott, the floor is yours.
Well, great. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Can everyone hear me and see me okay? Everybody see the big smile on my face? That's because I'm retired from the FBI. And there's good reason for that. But I'll tell you another thing. I've been retired from the FBI for 3 years, and I haven't had to get a real job yet. One of the questions that everyone asks me all the time is, hey, Scott, do you miss the FBI? And immediately I go like this, no. And everyone goes, well, what happened? Did you have a bad experience? No, I love being an FBI agent. I had such an amazing journey in my life. And they're like, hey, was it because of all this political stuff? Like, no, I don't even pay attention to it. So, you know, if I had my life to do over again, I would do it over again. I have a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, and I only hope that they could pass the background check at this time in their life to become FBI agents. So why do I not miss the FBI? Because today I'm doing what I love to do. And I kind of have a passion project life. And what does that mean? I share my level of expertise, what I've learned during the FBI over a 30-year career on how to teach individuals and organizations how not to become the next cybercrime victim. And I have to give a big shout out to Jonathan, because if you would have told me some 33 years ago, I'd be retired from the FBI, wrote a book called The Secret to Cybersecurity, I would have said, absolutely not my life at all. I know the FBI has been in the news quite a bit. You hear so many different things, but you know, the FBI still continues to go out. They do their job every day. Some of us might not like the actions that are being taken, but just a couple of days ago, 2 FBI agents, a young lady, 43 years old, another gentleman, 36 years old, lost their life when they went to serve a search warrant on a child predator. And that was one of the most horrible jobs. That's what I handled here for years. And my heart went out, because I can't tell you how many times we went out to go over and we would investigate these predators who were trying to hurt our children. And you'd just knock on doors. You'd have a bulletproof vest. And, you know, a lot of times we didn't, because we were going to try to get these guys to cooperate. And the guy just shot them through the door. And just and 3 other FBI agents were injured. This was probably the worst shooting in the history of the FBI. But what am I here to talk about today? I'm here to talk about the cybercrime problem, and also one goal: how to keep you, your family, your organization safe from cybersecurity. I can define what I do in one sentence, and that is I teach individuals and organizations how to reduce their chances of becoming the next cybercrime victim. And you hear that a lot, but I do it without spending money and without being overly technical, because I truly believe that if I can help somebody change their mindset on cybersecurity, I can help reduce the problem. Today, you know, with Jonathan, I wrote this book. I went around the country. I did a lot of speaking in 2019. 2020 happened. And I turned into the world of Zoom, and now I'm busier than I ever have been, because this is such a huge problem. And I find out, and we're going to learn a lot about it, because the cybercrime problem keeps getting worse. In 2015, it was a $3 trillion global problem. What are we talking about? We're talking about the business email compromise. We're talking about ransomware. We're talking about 65 million Americans being victimized by identity theft. It goes on the different types of scams that are out there. But by 2015, 5 years ago, it's a $3 trillion problem. This year, it's expected to tap out at a $6 trillion problem, 100% increase in 5 years. And that's before COVID-19 comes along. And now there's all these scams that are going on with COVID-19, because now we're all working from home. We're all working on our personal devices. We're logging in remotely to get access to the crown jewels of the organization. In the old days, where were our crown jewels? They were in the perimeter of an organization. Today, we're reaching this stuff from our home computer on the same network that maybe our kids are using. And there's a lot of questions when I sit down with organizations and I'm saying, are you using something such as 2-factor authentication? Are you using secure VPN? They look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. And it's the cybercrime problem is going to continue to go up. But that number doesn't bother me as much. The number that bothers me a lot more is the fact that in 2015, the global amount of spending on cybersecurity, which is your insurance policies, your firewalls, your managed services, your vendors calling you up, that they say, hey, I got a solution for you. I'm going to talk about that. There is no such thing as a solution. There's nothing that's going to completely 100% protect you. I'm going to show you how you're going to reduce a lot of risk in your organization without spending money. But if you want to be 100% safe, you got to take your laptop, you got to throw it into the Harpeth River. Oh, I shouldn't say that, because don't you guys help try to clean up the Harpeth River? I guess we can throw it into Percy Priest Lake. That'll be someone else's problem. I'm not ready to do that yet. Check back with me in about a year or so. So the cybercrime spending is about $88 billion. And cumulatively, we spend almost $1 trillion in those 5 years. So think about this. The cybercrime problem is going up. The amount of money we're spending to keep ourselves safe is going up. What does that mean? To me, it means we're not doing it right. It's that simple. And I wish somebody would challenge me, because just imagine you're going out, you're buying physical products for your house to keep your house safe. You spend all this money and the bad guys keep breaking in. And one time I was out at a presentation, because I do work for technology companies. I don't endorse them. They pay me because they think I'm entertaining. I can keep people engaged, and I got so much content. And one day I did a presentation, and the guy came over to me and he said, look, I really didn't like your messaging. And the first thing I said to myself is, did he pay me? Oh yeah, he did pay me. So, okay, that's fine. And I'm like, okay, what didn't you like about my messaging? Here's one thing that I talk about when I do my long formats. I tell people that a majority of the cybercrime victimizations that I dealt with in my career could have been prevented. Now, during my career with the FBI, probably in Nashville, I've dealt with over 1,000 victimizations. 1,000 people. These aren't things you read about it in books. These are me reaching out, talking to people and seeing about these things. So, you know, over the past 3 years, with the help of Jonathan, you know, I've compiled that information. I put it into a book. I go out, I sit down, I try to explain these to organizations. I do a ton of writing on LinkedIn, because you can be empowered to protect yourself. But when I was an FBI agent, I didn't join the FBI to work cybercrime. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, raised by a single parent. I started with the FBI as a file clerk when I was 20 years of age. I was surrounded by a lot of positive role models who really helped shape me. I became an FBI agent when I was 26 years old. And in 1995, I was sent to my first office of assignment in Syracuse, New York. If you asked me to define the role of an FBI agent way back 25 years ago, I'd say it was easy. Bad people were doing bad things to good people. And my job was to work with state and local cops. We put bad guys in jail. What a fun and exciting job for a 27-year-old kid from Brooklyn, New York. A gun, a badge, a bulletproof vest, and putting cases together where bad people were hurting people in the community. I was responsible for 5 counties all the way up to the Canadian border. That became my identity. That became like my self-worth, because I felt good, because I was putting child predators in jail. I was putting bad police officers in jail, drug dealers, white-collar criminals, people who were preying on the elderly. I got involved in cybercrime in 2003 because the FBI formed a cyber division to deal with this problem. And when I did this, all my friends made fun of me. Did you ever have a time in your life when you felt like, hey, you're doing the right thing and you want to get involved with something, and then you tell someone and they go, are you out of your mind? You're committing career suicide. That's what my peers told me. I came to Nashville in 2006 as the first supervisor of the cyber squad in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm all excited. I'm ready to take my investigative skill set and use it to help make the community a better place, to help put bad guys in jail. And I manage the squad. It's a new position for me. I'm all excited. And then I quickly kind of discover that working cyber investigations is very, very challenging, because, you know, in traditional investigations, there's almost a formula. The subjects are located here. You can follow the money. But in cybercrime investigations, things are completely different. And it doesn't matter how much technical skills the investigators have, they are really challenging. And I'm going to kind of walk you through that a little bit. But here we go. I'm the supervisor here for probably about 6 or 7 years, and it's Groundhog's Day every day. And, you know, we're getting more and more cyber cases. And in 2013 was kind of a pivotal year for me. We have the Target breach. Locally here, we have community health systems, millions of records stolen by the Chinese government. We have Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Home Depot, Target, JP Morgan, Sony. The list goes on and on between 2013, 2014. I believe that's going to be the game-changing year for cyber. People are going to start taking this threat seriously, but they didn't. And I kind of really hit a wall here because every day the victimizations are piling up. You don't read about these in the news. These are not publicly disclosed things unless it has to be publicly disclosed. Think about it if the bad guys went in and got access to your records and influenced your brand. Are you going to go around? Are you going to tell anyone about that information? Do you want your customers to know about that? Of course not. So all that information was kept in, and I'm dealing with this every day. And for the first time in my career, I really don't feel good about myself. And why is that? Because why did I join the FBI? To put bad guys in jail. And all of a sudden, I figured out that all of these incidents all had commonalities. The commonalities that took place in all of these incidents was every single time I had to respond to a victimization, the bad guys, not the bad guys, the victims were completely blown away that this happened. They never, ever expected to be a victim. They always said to me, I didn't think I'd be victimized. Why would anyone want to publish me? Why would anyone want to target me? I would deal with this with small businesses, nonprofits, religious organizations. I would have people's lives completely destroyed by the cyber criminals. Because I would have religious organizations and I would say, are you not concerned that the cyber criminals are going to target you? And they would be like, no, God is our firewall. And I'd want to say, I believe that too, but the cyber criminals do not care who you are. They want access to your information and your stuff. And now I want everyone here, think about within your organization, what is your stuff? What do you have that if the bad guys would get into would cause you grief? And we all have stuff. We have our email. Think about that. The bad guys get access to our email. They can see everything we're doing. They can get us on the business email compromise. Our social media, when they take those over, I've seen cyber criminals get into social media accounts of organizations. Imagine in your business, bad guys take over your social media account, send out a message to all of your customers saying, for being such a good friend, we're going to give you a venti latte at Starbucks. All you need to do is click on the link. You know what that sounds like to me? It's digital marketing, which we see all the time. And all of a sudden, when your customers click on the link, because they believe it's coming from you, but the bad guys took over your account, now they get infected with ransomware. Now, in the world of marketing, is it good or bad for your brand when you impact all of your customers? So when I'm seeing them get into the payroll accounts of organizations, think about if you do payroll online, what happens if bad guy steals username and password? They send the payroll out to someone else. I see them targeting HR platforms, all these different types of cloud platforms. So I want you to think about this in your organization. What do you hold sacred? What are your digital assets? And I want you to pretend for a second that the cyber criminals stole it. Well, I'm going to tell you what I call the second truth to cybersecurity. The first truth is nobody ever expected to be a victim. The second truth is when the bad guys steal your stuff, the chances of law enforcement getting your stuff back is slim to none. I've dealt with that in my entire career. It was very challenging to get that back. The third truth to cybersecurity is the fact that now the bad guys are located overseas. They're located over in China. They're located in Russia. They're located over in West Africa, and it makes it really, really challenging. I dealt with 1,000 cybercrime victims, and this is the same story that would happen. You know what it feels like when you have to sit down with an organization who's worked so hard for their livelihood. Their money is stolen, and you as the FBI, you come to them and you can't get their money back and you can't put the bad guys in jail. That really really touched me. And I get emotional every time I speak to that because it really played a big role in my life and how I felt. And then I'll never, ever forget the day it kind of dawned on me that after dealing with 1,000 victimizations, that I realized that there were commonalities in them. And I realized the fact, which I call the fourth truth. Because let me tell you, if we go over, let's just cover what we talked about. The cybercrime problem's going up. You're going to spend more money to keep yourself safe, and it's probably not going to work. Bad guys are going to steal your stuff. You're not going to get it back. Law enforcement is not going to put the bad guys in jail. And that is the definition in the world of information security of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the vendors use that all the time, because then the vendors go like this: well, you just got to buy my product and my product will keep you safe. Well, what I'm here to tell you is what I call my fourth truth to cybersecurity. And that is and I want you to write this down and remember this: a majority of the victimizations that I've worked on in my career could have been prevented if the end users were just empowered with a couple of key pieces of information. Is that going to stop everything? Absolutely not. But if I've learned in my career through dealing with 1,000 victims that 90% of them could have been prevented, then you need to do what I tell you for free before you become a victim. Now, talking to me and listening to me talk is like drinking out of a fire hose. I was just in this process right now. I'm building between a 4 to 8 hour course to be able to put this all in context, because I wrote the book with the help of Jonathan. It's a great book. My mother says it's a great book, but how many great books do I have on my bookcase that's supposed to change my life? So I'm trying to put this together, because what do I do now? I go around the country. Companies go like this to me: Scott, please come out and talk to us and give us your best 45 minutes. And I'm like, well, it's going to take longer. I said, all right, you're going to pay me this. I'll give you 2 or 3 hours. And then they stop and they say, no, we do not want 2 to 3 hours. We want you for 45 minutes. And you see, me being a former government guy, I don't kind of get this private sector thing. Someone had to teach me that you're supposed to charge the most amount of money for the least amount of work. I still have a hard time kind of putting that concept together. So that's really what I've been doing in my time, is trying to put this stuff together. And I'm going to go through in the next 5 minutes or so a couple of these points, but I'm going to give you information. I'm going to give you a list of the 10 to 15 things that you really need to do to reduce your chances of becoming a victim. And what I do now is I build frameworks, because I need to go out and I need to explain this to companies, because companies keep going in, and the FBI, we're not going to arrest our way out of the problem. You are not going to spend your way out of the problem. You have to take significant steps. The first thing I need to tell you is email is the #1 attack vector. You are going to get an email from somebody you know and somebody you trust. You're going to have an antivirus product on there. It does not matter, because there is something that is known as account compromises. There are millions, if not billions, of usernames and passwords on the dark web. I want you to picture this right now. It's tax time. It's stimulus time. What do you think happens? Because what are the bad guys going to do? They're going to take these massive emails, they're going to send them out, and they are going to say, hey, and it's going to address you by name, because all of our information is out there. So imagine you get a very, very specific email from the FTC or the IRS saying, Dear Scott, you have not claimed your stimulus check yet. You are owed $1,400 or $1,600 or $2,000, because honestly, nobody knows how much we're getting in the stimulus check. Imagine if you get that email and it looks perfect and it's coming from the FTC. Well, hopefully now you're going to know you don't click on that link. You're going to go to the website. You're going to call because of these phishing attacks. But just think about that. When that goes out today or in the next days, as it's going to happen, how many people in the United States are going to click on that link? And when they think about your family, think about your loved ones, think about your children or your elderly parents, and they are taken to a website that says, in order to receive your stimulus check, all you need to do is enter in your name, date of birth, and social security number. And then as soon as they do that, they might even say, hey, enter in your bank account information so we can do an ACH in that amount. Well, what you don't know is when you do that, they're able to suck money out of your account. So think about that. Email, the #1 attack vector. They're going to prey on fear. My wife the other day, they hit her fear button. She loves watching Netflix. She's been binging on Netflix lately. She gets a text message that comes from Netflix and it says, hey, there's a problem with your credit card. You're about to be locked out from your Netflix. Click on this link. It's in a text message. Well, she knows better, because when you're living with someone like myself, this is all you're getting hammered with all day. But what would have happened if she would have clicked on that link? She would have been taken to a website that would have asked for her social security, not just credit card information. They would have taken that. So we also have to know, what do we have that we need to protect? What accounts? And these are all cloud-based accounts. I'm going to give you my email. I'm going to give you information on this, because you're drinking out of a fire hose right now with this information. But realize email is the #1 attack vector. Which accounts do we need to keep protected in our life? Think about it in our personal life and our business life. What do we have to protect? We can't use the same password for for the same platforms. I've worked plenty of investigations where the bad guys would steal the username and password for, let's just say it was the Yahoo breach or the Marriott breach. They took all the Marriott usernames and passwords. Marriott told everyone, change your username and password. What they didn't take into account is 60 to 70% of the population is using the same password. I'm looking at a couple of your eyes. Don't make eye contact with me, because I can tell who's doing that. And what happens? They do something which is known as a spray attack, which means if they get your username and password, they're going to, from one account, they are going to use that on all of your accounts. So if you were a Marriott user and you changed your password and you had that same password for Marriott as you did your SunTrust account, they're probably going to log into your SunTrust account. So now we have to create separate passwords. And then there's something called two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is the commonality that most of my victims did not have in place. So we're taking those together and we're wrapping that in. And I built a simple framework about that. And I'm going to give you I'm going to give you the amount. And I'm going to talk for 3 more minutes. I'm going to take questions. If anyone wants to stay on a little later, I'll answer as many questions as you have. I know there's a hard stop at 1 o'clock, but I get a lot of questions that go through this. But let me tell you, and also with identity theft, one of the things that I talk about, everyone goes, should I buy LifeLock or one of these other things? And I go, no, you can do all that on your own. You could freeze your credit. And I share that information. How do you freeze your credit? I'll give you that information. Do that on your own. This way, the bad guys cannot get into your credit. And the most important thing that we need to know is, how do we keep our kids safe? And how do we keep our elderly parents safe? And I know my 15-year-old and 18-year-old probably puts me in that category. They probably ask themselves all the time, how do they keep their elderly parent, me, safe? because elder scams and crimes against children are so out of control these days. And if your money is stolen, you are going to get your money back. You are going to fix your business. But when something happens to your parents, your children, it's really challenging to do this. If you follow these steps that I'm going to outline and I'm going to send to you, you're going to reduce a lot of the cybercrime activity in your life. You want to eliminate all of it? It's easy. Just move in with the Amish. I am not willing to do that. But to me, I've seen so many bad things during my career. And that's why I live. This is what I'm driven for. It's about helping people, getting in front of as many things as possible, overcharging my Fortune 500 companies who honestly, get me to come over and talk about it. But my goal is to change your mindset. My goal is to get you to take action, to identify your accounts, to put two-factor authentication on it. And what I'm doing now is I am going to put my email over in the chat box right now. It's saugenbaum@gmail.com. Shoot me an email and I'm going to send you the list of things that you really need to do. And I'm going to send you, well, Jonathan doesn't hear me, but I'm going to send you 2 chapters of my book that I have on keeping your kids safe and keeping your elderly parents safe, or I should say, keeping myself safe. So you'll learn about this, and then I'll provide you with information on how you can get my copy of my book if you want, but you're going to have all of the information that you need, in my opinion, to really reduce a lot of risk. So what I want to do is I want to take this time now, take the next couple of minutes, and if someone wants to read off the questions to me, or if not, I'm going to take them first in, last out, or anything like that.
Yeah, Scott, I'll start reading some questions.
you,
Several are direct messaging me, so they're not even going to show up on your chat. So I'll start with those. We had a good one right off the bat. The very first one, I think even before you started talking. What presence did the FBI have in the Capitol prior to the events last month? Was there any concerns or warnings that something might happen that day? So
I have no idea.
Nice softball.
Listen, I have no idea. You want to stay? Listen, I'm here to keep you and you see, I got the greatest thing in the world. Everyone always does that. And I go, I don't care. See, I don't make comments because I like to sell my products and services to everybody. But I have no idea who was over at the Capitol. I called a couple of my neighbors kidding around, telling them that if they want a broker turning themselves in, I would help them. And I got a couple of dirty looks off of that. If you want afterwards, we can have beers. I can give you my opinions about everything. I don't know if you realize this, I got tons of opinions.
The next one I got in timestamp wise was from Tom, and he says, if you want to do a background check on someone, what's the best internet service to use that you pay for?
Oh, that is a great one. You could probably, there is so much, and I was just talking to someone about this that was putting together, there is so much free information that is out there that you would be amazed at if you go over that there are publicly available websites that you could figure these things out. I had someone did a search on me. There is nothing of mine that is sacred. There is nothing. We unfortunately do not have an expectation of privacy anymore. For me, it's okay. Well, now I'm not an FBI agent, but they're going to find out where you live, where your parents live, where are your social security numbers. That's why it's so important for everyone here to freeze their credit. So you could, so even if the bad guys can get your social security number, because certain credit agencies collect the first couple of digits, the other ones collect the other ones. And with any kind of LexisNexis search, you could pull that together. There's lots of common search engines that are out there. There are some paid services. I know private investigators are charging like $100 to put together a report. Some of them are really good if you're screening people for employment. That you can kind of get a really good handle on, did they have any criminal stuff? Do they have liens? Do they have judgments against them? Because that's really, in my opinion, that's a big pre-indicator of someone's, that's what we would look at when we were hiring people. If they had liens or judgments against them, it put them into a higher risk category, and especially for us when we were having reinvestigations.
Next one is from Ted, who says, every time I talk to my clients about improving cybersecurity, their standard objection is, it has never happened to me. How would you answer that question?
That's a great one. I've come up within my career, I have a list because I'm building courses. I can do my top 30 excuses why people don't take it seriously. Why? And I had this with large enterprises. I've had this with billion-dollar companies that are here. And unfortunately, people aren't spending the money. I'll give you a very quick example. I one time did a presentation at a mortgage banking conference, 500 mortgage bankers in Nashville from all around the country. Let's see if there are any mortgage bankers over there that I could find out. I can see when people start shifting a little bit in their seat. I gave them the key, just like I'm giving you. I said, shoot me an email and I will provide you with this information. This is when I was with the FBI. And out of 500 people, 2 companies took me up on my offer. And even today, so we had 40 people here. If I would get 10 people who respond to me with just, it's not like I'm saying go buy the book. I'm saying here's the steps that you should take. People just, I don't understand it. But what I do, you can only save those people who swim towards you. And Ted, and I know Ted and I have talked about this a lot. Unfortunately, if they're not going to pay for the prevention up front, they're going to call you on the back end. It happens. My friend's doing intrusion response right now, working for some of the largest companies. They're making money hand over fist because when you have an incident, you're going to pay whatever they tell you. And you know what it's going to come down to? An account compromise because your account was taken over because you do not have two-factor authentication.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. We have so many questions. We are just never going to get to all of them.
Well, and I'm here if anyone wants to hang out and everything like that. You know what? I'm good. I will stay here.
We may leave it live after we end officially.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I like to
over-deliver. Let me ask one more question, and then we'll officially adjourn the meeting, but we may leave the link live for a little bit longer for more questions. This one's from Harold. Our power grid infrastructure seems very vulnerable to a colossal meltdown if the bad guys get to the security codes. Are the utilities aggressively addressing this potential disaster?
No. Oh, wait, did I say that or did I think that out loud? The large utility companies there are a lot of small utilities. Think about when I was with the FBI, I was going out and I would speak at the Tennessee Association of Utility Districts. Okay. I don't worry about the big ones. I mean, I've had great relationships with NEC, Murfreesboro Electric, Jackson Energy, Memphis Lighting and Gas. But when we start going out to the smaller utility sectors, they're playing catch up. They don't have the money to really re-up their infrastructure. And to me, that causes me grief. The same thing that we're seeing with ransomware. We didn't even talk about ransomware. Ransomware on medical devices. So, there's lots of things that we can open up cans of worms about. And all I'm trying to do is solve the basic things on what are the basic hygiene that you can improve to prevent cyber issues.
That's a good way to put it, the basic hygiene. So we definitely do have some more questions. Scott, normally we'd all be in a big room, and at the back of that big room, you'd have a table set up with a whole bunch of your beautiful books on it, and we'd all buy some from you. But we're not able to do that quite that way this time. So what I'm going to do, if it's okay with you and Jonathan, is I'll send out an email link or something this next week.
No, absolutely. But please email me, because that's kind of my science experiment. I like to see how many people I can connect with here.
All right, we'll do it that way. If you want Scott's book, email him.
If you want my stuff, forget about the book. You can figure out after you read my stuff. I mean, I'm going to give you information that's going to answer a lot of your questions. I'm going to let you end the meeting, and I'm going to sit on here for a couple of more minutes if anyone has any other questions.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. Well, thank you, Scott, for talking to us, and thanks for being generous with your time afterwards as well. Let's see. There really aren't any pressing announcements that we need to go over at this point. Just keep looking at reflections, keep those folks on your hearts and minds that are on our prayer list. Again, we welcome Steve. Thank you, Steve, for joining us. We're so happy you're here. Zach, we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're all here, all 42 or 3 or however many it was that were on here. Thanks for joining us today, and we are now officially adjourned, but those who care to can stay after and listen to Scott answer some more questions. All right, we're adjourned.